Hi, everyone. It's Cricket Song with Inner Wisdom, and you're watching another episode of Wine, Witches, Witchcraft. And I'm here with my lovely co-host, Renee Yin.
Hello, how are you?
Isn't she lovely? She's lovely.
Oh, you're a mess.
You're not a mess. You're lovely.
No, it's like you're a mess.
I'm a mess? Am I a mess?
No, not really. I'm teasing. Keep going.
Okay.
Stop trying
You're
to
the one
pull
who's
my face off the floor. Ignore me.
She's the one who's tired. Although she is lovely, tired, lovely awake. Tonight, what are you drinking, Renee, tonight?
I am drinking coffee and I'm about to run in a second to get my second cup. I am exhausted with this new puppy. She doesn't like to let us sleep, so.
Yeah, poor Renee is dragging, but she still made it. She still made it for our show. Yay! Tonight I'm drinking crisp wine spritzer from Barefoot. I like their wine spritzer. They have a few different kinds or flavors or whatever, but I'm drinking the white spritzer. So I'm gonna fill my glass up. I'm
gonna turn off my work emails because for some reason those are wanting to ding while we're on the stream, and I refuse to hear anything dealing with work right now.
Yeah, no more work. It's after work. Hey, everybody in chat. We have a nice group. Hi, Nicholas and Janaea, maybe. Alina. Hey, Brittany. Skittle Cat Spiritual. Stan the Magic Man. Shiny Mist. James. Y.S. Levesky. Angelina. Renee is very tired, but I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right tonight. We're doing good. We're doing good. I must tell you, Renee, I didn't tell you before we started, but I had so many people comment on our show last week, like comment to me personally, like, oh my God, I loved what you guys did on the show last week. The energy was great. The readings went really well. So we definitely have to do that again.
That was really fun. I will have to say that the readings might on my end have gotten more convoluted, the further we kept drinking, because, essentially my drink was, it wasn't Sprite and vodka, it was vodka and Sprite.
Yeah.
I was stumbling back into the other room by the time we were done, but I had a really good time.
Yeah, it was really good. I think we went really, really good. You should try the wine of Moscato. I don't like Moscato. It's too sweet for me.
A Riesling might be good.
What?
If you don't like Moscato, you might like Riesling.
Oh, I like Riesling.
Okay.
I like Riesling. This actually, I'm tasting this. This is way too easy to drink. Obviously, it's a spritzer and it's white wine. It's going down really easy. So hopefully, I'm not gonna like fall off this chair as we're doing the show. So tonight, what I was talking to Renee, and what I'd like to discuss is the idea of like health and overall well-being in relationship to your spiritual self. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this, I was sort of spurred into contemplation by a video that Zabora made from Comedic Witchcraft, I think is her channel. Mm-hmm. I think that's it. And she did a video response. I think it was titled "Too Fat to Be Spiritual," which came from a conversation she had with a friend of hers online who is a druid. I believe he practices druidry. And they had a conversation and he said something, and I guess she took it really personally. She was very emotional in her response, and she made this video. I don't really necessarily want to talk about that one topic, but I want to look at it from a broader perspective. So the comment, I guess, that was said was, you need to be in physical health in order to be spiritually well, or be a leader or a priest or priestess or a whatever it is. And yes, this gentleman was talking about it from one particular perspective in one particular culture, but I want to look at this with a broad sense. I want to really look at it from, what if you are not well? What if you have an illness, a condition, a disease? Are you still able to either teach others, lead others from a spiritual sense? And what are the thoughts about this? What does this bring up in terms of questions? What if I am dealing with a condition or a disease? Does that mean I can't be spiritual, or I should not be a teacher / leader, high priestess of a coven because of that? I'd like to discuss that and talk about it, because I think a lot of us in today's society are dealing with things that could be a stumbling block for us.
Mm-hmm. And I think,
so,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's fine. No, I was thinking I don't think we're going to come to any hard conclusions on this topic. Yeah. Me and you are going to flop sides back and forth. We're going to philosophize this to death. So no one take anything personally. But I mean, this does bring a huge question. My first is that illness, disease, or condition of the body? And this is coming from the point of view of, thus, if it's reflected in the body, it's going to be reflected in the spirit, in the as above, so below. My question is, what does it make a difference if it's from neglect?
Right.
I mean, does that make a difference? Because I think a lot of people could go either way. It's one of the first things that pops up when two witches gets in an argument. The first thing is going to be physical appearance or lack thereof.
Right.
And hitting health.
Right. Because I agree with you totally. I think that when we deal with a physical ailment, whether it's a condition that can be cured, whether it's something like, I don't know, a rash, you know what I mean? A simple rash, contact dermatitis. Whether if you're dealing with something like that, or whether you're dealing with something that could be considered a hereditary condition or disease that's passed down from, generation to generation, I personally feel that physical thing is some indication of some sort of energetic thing going on within, some sort of spiritual thing going on within. Even if it's something that you might have been born with, not saying that these are good or bad, not making judgment calls at all whatsoever. But how does that work in with your spirit, someone, you meaning anyone, spirituality, and how can we compensate or even overcome these challenges and obstacles we might be dealing with? Because I honestly feel like it's some sort of energetic resistance going on within the energetic person when it's manifested in a physical condition, like you were saying, as above, so below kind of thing.
And what this will really just challenge in people, which a lot of people would want to argue but the reason why this topic tends to bring a lot of resistance, a lot of pushback, is because it's really going to challenge your ability or your capacity to believe as above, so below, or the actual the law of universal return. It's really going to make you question those things from it. Exactly. Because the thing is, though, I can understand, we can both understand both sides of the argument. But at the same time, if someone, I will say something that's going to tick everybody off, but I'm not going to, we are a manifestation of what is God and Goddess. We are a manifestation of what is universal whole truth. Our bodies, regardless, this is not a Christian view, this is just a view that the body is still sacred regardless of what your path is. But the thing is that to treat it poorly, I do believe that takes you further from spirit. whether purposeful or not, which you would characterize as some type of resistance, regardless if it's self-sabotage or not. I personally wouldn't choose someone who treated their bodies poorly. And I'm not, this is not a weight thing. This is just in general. But I see it the same way with smoking as well. And I'm someone who smoked for 15 years. I don't now, and I don't even vape now. But it's just the reason why I quit those things is because at the same time as I was treating something that was sacred and holy and a reflection of what is, you know, a primordial force, like garbage.
Right. And, you know, coming to this conversation as an individual who is obese, I mean, I have been overweight my entire life. Looking at the cause for the condition, looking at the root cause of the weight, if we're talking about being overweight, or smoking, looking at the root cause as to why a person is smoking, or why someone is taking heroin, or why someone is treating their body badly. There is something there that is not being addressed. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not just talking about the physical thing isn't being addressed. There is some sort of energetic.
There's something there.
There, right. A shadow, if you want to call it that. A personal demon, if you want to call it that. There is something that isn't in alignment with the physical vessel. And I know a lot of people in chat are saying that your physical body is just a vessel. It's not important. It's what's inside. What?
Yeah, but that's where me and most of the chat will disagree, because the thing is, though, what's within spiritually is going to reflect and manifest as a physical condition within the actual body.
And I agree with you. I was going to say, I disagree with that as well, because
that's all of Eastern medicine. I'm half Asian. That's literally the foundation of what's in the Yellow Emperor's book that I have somewhere around here. That's literally the foundation of all Asian medicine, is that something spiritual causes an actual, like a physical manifestation of illness. Even if it's just ego.
Right. Because, and I come back to the whole idea that we are manifested in the physical body. So we are spirit and we are something energetic, non-physical, but we have manifested in a physical body. And like you said, whatever that vessel is holding is going to be reflected in the physical body. And this is, again, I want to stress that there's no judgment here. I'm not saying one is good and one is bad. I'm not saying that. And there's more than just carrying extra weight. I mean, we're all not going to be the same weight because we're not all the same height, because we don't all have the same physical bone structure. We come from different cultures, different heritage, and we're all going to be manifested differently. And it doesn't mean that if you're carrying extra weight, you're not in optimal health for you either. We're talking about when it is a hindrance, maybe.
We're just talking about when it's going, because Scuttlecat's saying, well, you know, does that mean that you're less of a witch? And I'm very much paraphrasing. No, in no way did I ever say that or am hinting towards that. We're talking about spiritual implication of disease.
Right.
We're broader than that. That was the context of the conversation that Zagora had. We're talking about the spiritual implication of disease and the cause of disease from an esoteric and occult standpoint. That's all.
Right. I'm just saying that conversation spurred me to look at it in a broader sense, because that was a very specific thing. That sort of, I said, okay, this was what was discussed. Let's look at it from a bigger picture. When someone has dis-ease or some sort of condition that is hindering that person's spiritual growth, if you happen to be a witch, or if you happen to be a magician, or if you happen to be a Christian even, or some sort of practice that is a spiritually flavored practice. It's part of your spirituality.
Because, you know, if you want to, this isn't saying like, you know, you mentioned, your struggle with weight. And the thing is, though, I, within the last 6 months, have struggled with weight as well. I mean, I increased over 50 pounds, and that's because something traumatic happened. Like, to me, that is proof that something emotionally has thus affected me physically and spiritually, and because they are all absolutely connected. And I've noticed a difference in my practice. I've noticed a difference in my health, having gone down. I'm not projecting on anyone. I'm just talking about me here. And I've noticed the fact that, emotionally, it's heavier. Mm-hmm. There's a connection there. Regardless if you want to address that there's a connection or not. Not saying everyone's weight is connected to something traumatic. It's me, but there's something there. It's holding it in place.
Yes. Yes. And it can take years to discover whether it's weight or whether it's the reason why you're addicted to sugar, or there's a reason why you are drawn to smoke, or whatever that condition or that dis-ease is. There is some sort of underlying root cause for each of us to seek that out, to bring some sort of ease to the condition or the state of being that we're dealing with. And I'm curious as to how that affects a person's spiritual practice, because I know for me, as I go through these shadows or explore this darkness or these personal demons, it is reflected in what I'm doing in my practice.
No, I have to agree with you, because I've noticed a huge, I guess, difference in my practice and a heaviness towards it as well.
Right. And I know someone else in chat had said something that they had a thyroid issue. I don't know where it went, because chat's like going crazy.
Oh, Elena Morton.
Yeah, what did she say?
She says, I agree, it makes sense. I feel like my throat chakra is blocked and I have a thyroid condition. I agree because of my own experience.
Right. So tell us, share with us what your feeling is if your throat chakra is blocked, and having that thyroid condition or challenge that you have. How are you able to overcome that, or work through it, or work around it, so that you're still able to practice your spirituality, whatever that is? If you are a witch, how do you find a way to witch through it or work through it? Or if you're a magical practitioner? So Renee, for you, with your struggles, how are you? I know you said it feels heavier. How are you able to still work your magic or do your shit when you're dealing with this?
Cleansing, grounding, and centering, but it takes longer.
Okay.
It just takes longer because it's harder to be mindful when you're in a place of, I guess, distraction, because it's just, I feel like there's more of a distraction energy of like everything else is important except for what I want to do right now. Again, this is my shit kind of coming up. And so focusing on, okay, no, me, grounding, anchoring my feet into the ground. That's a huge, finding the ability to be present, and then being able to center, cleanse, and then I can start finally getting into my stuff. But those steps will take me a lot longer than they used to.
Right. I agree. I think grounding is, at least for me too, being able to ground and then also sort of work with the energies of the physical realm. So for me, being connected in a physical vessel, trying to reconnect with the energies of the physical realm that I'm in, in order to sort of overcome the resistance that's in my body that I'm carrying with me, to sort of push through it. So like earth and air are pretty big right now for me. So sort of like sort of uprooting those things that I'm holding within me and having the air sort of sweep them away so that I can get down to business is what's working, at least for me at this time. Not saying that it's going to stay like that, because I find that then, almost like with an exercise routine, my body gets used to that. So then I kind of have to switch it up to sort of, so it doesn't start putting up resistance against the routine. Do you know what I mean? I tend to think of a disease as a personal challenge and opportunity, but not judge someone as a teacher unless they were an uncontrolled addict. Okay, so that sort of makes sense. I mean, if you know that someone has a challenge, you still are open up to that individual and don't judge them negatively or positively as a teacher on that, unless it's like out of control.
So the way I take that is, excuse me, completely lost my train of thought. Keep going. Lost my train of thought.
Okay. So I guess, I mean, isn't that the idea of, what is it, the wounded teacher?
Oh, yeah, the wounded healer.
The wounded healer. Isn't that sort of the idea, where you still sort of would go to someone for healing, even though they themselves are working through their own shit, basically?
The steps aren't necessarily as concise as that. The wounded healer has once been wounded, but is now fully healed, because you can't heal the whole. The process has to be fully complete. It's kind of like the Jedi Padawan type of relationship. So you have to fully go through that place, and you have to fully come to fruition in that part of your path, heal. Then universe brings you, or spirit brings you, someone who's gone through a similar thing, and you guide them, and then it keeps going.
So then, would you go to a healer if they were wounded?
I would say yes, because it depends on what, like, again, it depends on what the type of healing. Because if you have if you have like LPC, MD, DO, RN, you have those kinds of things on the end of your name. I see certain things. No, I'm not going to you for anything. If you're any type of like a true medical practitioner, no. If you're a coke addict and you're a doctor, we're not going to be friends. I'm just not doing that. But it depends, I guess, on what the situation is. From a shaman, probably, because the context of the culture of that is completely different. Also, it also depends on if there was intention to cause harm and neglect. You know, were they only being hurtful to themselves, or were they hurting others? Because to me, that's a huge difference.
Oh, I agree with that. I mean, yeah. Yeah.
You eat animals, I'm coming after you. Like,
right.
We're not going to go to you for healing. It's going to be the opposite relationship.
Personally, I agree with that. And then that just made me think of the idea of going for Reiki healing from someone who is sick. Personally, I would not, if I'm not feeling well, I don't do Reiki on others at the time that I'm not feeling well. However, I do know some Reiki practitioners who still will. And the idea is that as they're doing Reiki on someone else, as the energy is going through them, they too are receiving healing as they're giving healing. So it's almost like a 2-for-1. I personally have not been comfortable in doing that, because personally I look at it as, if I'm the conduit and I'm not feeling well, I'm concerned that the energy filtering through me may end up, the ick that I may be feeling may be passed on to someone else, and I wouldn't want to do that. So, but that's a personal choice you know?
And that's another thing is, we've already talked about how I don't do healing spells. If you're going to see a doctor, I might do a working to like, hey, help the doctor and the medical team around you, do the best that they can. But however, if I had the flu, I'm not going anywhere near the candle. I will take a step back and just hope, my belief that time isn't linear and do it after the fact would come around. Chaos theory for the win on that one. But it's just, a lot of times, especially if I'm not feeling my best or if I'm really just having a bad day, you're not really going to see me witch much. Because that's time I feel like I need to be focusing on myself anyway, because there's things other than lighting a candle that I need to do at that moment.
Right. Alina said that she has a hard time articulating and speaking confidently. She's still not over it. I still have issues with it. I've just simply been trying to do shadow work lately. I hear you. I mean, that's a never ending, I feel like, work that we do on a regular basis. So yeah, that makes sense. Having issues with the throat and not being able to speak confidently. That makes sense to me. Xerxes 666, he wants to know how everybody stays grounded, calm, and not insane with this era of Trump. Yeah, it's difficult, let me tell you. Don't watch the news because you go crazy. Everything is different the very next day, living in chaos.
What are your thoughts? Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, working with energy while feeling like shit is not good for me. Not good for me either.
River Havenwood asks, what are your thoughts on how this applies to mental and emotional health?
I know. That still goes along with that whole thing, having some sort of resistance within you. I mean, I feel like, again, no judgment as whether it's good or bad, because those are subjective terms anyway. Obviously, if there's some sort of condition, whether it's mental or emotional or physical, there's some sort of resistance going on within that person. And something that I think would benefit the individual to address. So, I mean, I feel like, I'm not saying, again, that I feel like everybody is a spiritual individual, but in order for them to get the full benefit of whatever it is they practice, whatever it is they believe, whatever it looks like, would be to sort of address and work through those issues, those challenges, those things that they're dealing with. I think they'd get a greater benefit if they're working through it and they're able to sort of release some of those blockages or heal from some of those wounds,
Absolutely. Everything I feel, it's going to mirror what you say. It's just, there's something there. All of it's going to be connected.
The Fantastic Beast has a real problem with seeing, didn't he say fat people as gurus or putting them on a pedestal?
Seeing people as gurus or putting them on a pedestal.
I thought he said fat people. Maybe. Is there a way to edit it? Could he have edited it? Or am I projecting what he said?
Maybe a little projecting. You can't really edit the comment. You can only delete a comment and then put it again. But then I would have seen it says deleted comment.
Okay, so maybe I'm projecting. So the Fantastic Beast has a real problem with seeing people as gurus or putting them on a pedestal. I think we all have something to offer, but don't trust easily. So then, do you see anybody as gurus? Or, I mean, I guess.
I think he means like when we were talking about, that came up when we were talking about healers.
Oh, okay.
So I think he may be thinking that, well, a healer would be a guru. But I'm not thinking of the healer as a guru, especially from the wounded the wounded healer construct. Because if anything, it would be the opposite.
Are we ignoring your poignant comments? I don't know. Did we? It was going by really
annoying.
Huh?
We are if they're annoying.
Well, I haven't, I've been trying not to, but the chat for a minute there was really going quickly. So let me backtrack. What were you saying, Scott? Okay. Your ascended self, future self to reach you in your present to aid you on health matters. Retro, I don't know what that word is. Causity? Causity?
I just know at a certain time he said, eat, drink, and make merry, lost me with the trivial banter. But then he stayed. So.
Oh, okay.
Say, let's just keep going.
Okay. So what else did we have here? What are your thoughts on, oh, you already said that. Oh, sorry. Okay. She's a girl. The Fantastic Beast is a girl. I'm sorry. I thought it was boy, and you did not say fat people. Sorry, that was me projecting. Stop saying things you didn't say. Higher self. Okay, so your higher self. So he's suggesting, Scott there is suggesting that your higher self would allow your ascended self, future self, or your ascended future self to reach you in your present to aid you in health matters. Okay, I would agree with that, but I feel like in order for that to work, the person would have to know, number one, that they needed to be healed on some level, and number two, set forth an intention for them to be aware of when their future higher self comes to them, and then can work on healing whatever that is. So awareness would need to be the first step to that. And as I usually say in these matters, it's sort of the idea of know thyself, understanding what my limitations are, what limitations I've put on myself, and the condition, the well-being and the state of where I am, and the state of what health for me would look like. And I don't think a lot of people are really that aware and conscious of what's going on with them. I think we are easily distracted by things outside of us. Ooh, shiny, ooh, shiny. So we're distracted by all these things that we really don't take the time to do some self-evaluating. I don't think the coffee's kicked in for you, Renee.
No, I think I'm going to step for 1 second and get a second cup real quick. It's already over there, so I will be right back.
Okay. Renee is going to get a cup of coffee. How do you all feel about performing sex magic when being intimate with a spouse or significant other? Well, if you're in definitely a state of well-being, if we're going to relate that to what we're talking about, I think that would be beneficial. I think that could be very powerful, a very powerful act, and can really aid to successful manifestation. I deal with depression and anxiety, and I've been doing a lot of shadow work to witch through it. I've developed better coping methods thanks to my craft. I think our spirituality, no matter what form of spirituality you practice, if you're able to be aware of the conditions or be aware of the challenges that you have, can really help us work through them, no matter what spirituality you practice, no matter what it is you believe. I honestly feel that we can help ourselves in that way. What is this? Mary, I'm experiencing some crazy synchronicity lately and deja vu. Is anyone else experiencing this type of thing? Yeah. Yeah. If it's a consensual, it's fine. Oh, okay. And I think you've discussed this before, but maybe what do you think about the significance of deja vu? I'm starting to think it's pointing out two crossroads for me. Okay. I'll definitely come to that in a minute. I just wanted to wrap up the idea of having a challenge, not being in the optimum state of health and overall well-being, but still being able to be spiritual. Although some people may not look to the individual who is working through whatever it is they need to work through as a teacher, mentor, leader that really resonates with them. And I feel like this goes back to that idea that I had mentioned before when we talked about fake gurus and teachers and that kind of thing, that there is a teacher, there is a mentor for everyone at different levels. So as we develop our own spiritual self, as we sort of heighten our own vibrational frequency, as we grow, we change and shift. And I think that a teacher that may have been beneficial for us, 3 years ago, may not be beneficial for us now, because maybe we've grown. The whole concept of, the pupil then becoming the teacher, once you had a teacher and then the pupil sort of goes beyond the master or goes beyond the teacher and then becomes the teacher themselves. I think there's always teachers and mentors that we can find at our level of growth, but we may outgrow our teacher. You go from first grade to second grade, from second grade to third grade, and pretty soon you're in high school and your first grade teacher may not be apt for you when you're in high school. I think when we look at our spiritual growth, we may find that happen as well. So deja vu. Mary Morning is curious about deja vu. She's been experiencing a lot of deja vu and synchronicity lately, and she wondered if anybody else was, and then wanted to know what our thoughts were. What does that signify, deja vu?
I am not that educated on deja vu. I've experienced it. Well, I think I've experienced it a couple of times. Chug, 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 chug.
Wow.
I know you were drinking it. You were just downing the rest of it, so I went chug, chug, chug. But when it comes to deja vu, I think they may be glimpses of a past life, but that's pretty much all I really might know about it.
Yeah, I agree. I think sometimes it's a past life. I feel like sometimes it's sort of a indication that you're sort of seeing the layers or the multi-dimensions. You're sort of getting a glimpse of something like an alternate reality that maybe you've sort of seen beyond the veil between the different dimensions or times, if you would. Yeah, I sort of feel like the same thing with Renee.
Mm-hmm.
You think she says, I'm starting to think it's pointing out a crossroads for me, is what she said. And I would agree. I feel like that could be you getting a glimpse of a point in your life where this is sort of the vortex or the juncture of a different life that you might want to explore. I've dreams about the past a lot. Why? Having dreams about the past a lot. Cool Bobby, not Barbie, Bobby. Why does he have dreams about the past a lot? Any thoughts on that for him?
He's talking about from the 1980s, from when he was a kid. So, I mean, sometimes you just have, I don't know if I'm going to have a really strong spiritual answer for you, because sometimes you just have dreams of your past, especially if it's this lifetime. So,
yeah, there definitely could be something there that may be like you could apply something to your now. You might, I mean, so you may have experienced something when you were a kid, and the way that you dealt with it, or the situation may mirror what you're going through now. And it might be the way your inner self, your higher self, your guides, whoever may be trying to point out something to you so that you can work through the situation now. Do you know what I mean? Am I making sense? I don't know.
You make sense.
Okay, good.
At least to me.
Okay, good. In the astral world, can you see people's chakras in order to heal them? I think in the astral world, yeah, you can see chakras. You can see auras. You can, I mean, because you don't have a physical body, so you're basically just seeing the energy of the person. That's my opinion.
Agreed.
We're agreeing a lot tonight.
Well, a lot of our beliefs are like kind of parallel each other.
I know, huh?
It's not much to be like, well, I can add more and just repeat everything that you say.
Oh, someone's asking about spirits. Where did they? I see the end of it. Spirits. Anyone else? I see a frightening spirit while they were half awake asleep. I don't have a lot of interactions with spirits that actually frighten me. Oh, hey, Noah.
Yeah, he just got off work and is just listening in as he drives home.
Yeah, I see. Too bad. He should be a contestant on. So, yeah, let me mention that while we're in a lull here. Next week, we're going to have a game night. So I'm looking for contestants to be participants in our game night next Thursday. So I need 4 and I'd like 2 alternates. So I have 3 people signed up already to be a contestant. Brittany, Skittle Cat Spirituality. I was going to call her Coconut Summer 11, but no one would know who I was talking about. Brittany is one of our contestants. I have 2 other people, Nicole and who was the other person? Did I say Jennifer? I can't remember, but 2 other people want to be contestants. So I'm still looking for 1 and 2 alternates to partake in a game for next week's show. So if you're interested in being on the live stream and being a contestant, go over to my Cricket Song Facebook page and find that post and put in, I'm interested. The game is going to be centered around like topics that deal with witchcraft, magic, occult, and all that good shit. So, you know, anybody can participate. I definitely ask that you're over the age of 18, however, and the winning team, because you're going to be in teams, will receive a free 15-minute reading from me. So if you're on the winning team, you will get a free Skype reading with me. So looking for people to sign up for that. Like I said, head over to Cricket Song's Facebook page and leave a comment so I know that you're interested. And I'll give you more details when I get my contestants ready, and I'll tell you what the game is. So that's next week. So we're going to have a game next week. So that, and viewers in chat will be able to be part of it. So it should be fun. Yeah. Renee's excited about it. I know she doesn't look it because she's really tired, but
I'm sipping on my 2nd cup of coffee. I'm trying so hard.
She is.
I'm so glad I did not do booze, because you would just be me over here sleeping. I would be asleep right now if I actually.
I believe you. When I first signed on with her, she was super tired. The poor thing. Oh, Bobby's interested. All right, Bobby. Cool. Bobby is going to be one of our contestants. Yay. You would not sink your team, Danielle. You would not sink your team. Come on. This is going to be fun. I'm really excited. Danielle, it's nice to see you in chat. Spiraling monk. Yay. Going back to the wellness thing. Yes, River. Do you use your practice to improve your physical or mental wellness via spells or ritual, etc.? And if so, how? For me, personally, because I am a Reiki practitioner and a Reiki master, I try to do Reiki on myself to help move the energy through, to help. I generally don't do spells for health for myself. I really don't do spells for other people's health either. I think Renee mentioned helping the doctor or the medical individual practitioner or whatever, helping them, like, however you do that. Right. I don't tend to do spells for that. I might help the person's own body, like boost their own healing capability, sort of like, a dose of echinacea kind of thing. That's how I tend to do it. If I'm going to do healing on someone else, it's Reiki and sound therapy, sound healing. I incorporate tuning forks in my Reiki. So I'll do that way. So that is part of my practice, but it's not really spells, ritualistic spell casting.
And for me, I kind of said it earlier, it's just going to be the grounding, centering, but mainly the cleansing is really important, because especially if you're in like a weird energetic funk, more weird energetic funk likes to attach to you because you're not vibrating at your optimum. Exactly. So a lot of it's just cleansing. And so that way you can kind of keep your head about you.
I agree with Renee. It's almost like, if you can imagine, this tuning fork vibrating at a specific frequency and it's being covered by this, cotton. So it's still vibrating at it, but the cotton is sort of muffling that vibration. That's what it's like. Reiki, what Reiki level? I'm actually a master teacher, Reiki. So I had 1, 2, 3, and the master teacher. So, do you like the show Charmed? Yeah. I've seen shows that I think are better, but that's like old school. Have you guys used a Ouija board before? I'm getting one soon. I have. I own a Ouija board. I don't have any tips per se. Do you have tips on using a Ouija?
The similar stuff. Do it within circle. Say goodbye. Make sure you close circle, and then make sure you light your trusty sage, so that way you can scare away the devil. Well, I'll stop trolling right about now. This is how you know I love watching the A Good Go show. See, Kahina Bunhel really understands Ouija board. I heard that there shouldn't be any sharp objects in the room. Yeah, make sure you keep the sharp objects out of the room. Because things sometimes levitate when you talk to spirits. You never know. Sherry's going to kill me in any minute.
Oh, my goodness. I believe I have the power. What I do. What do I do? I can make things move with my finger.
You can do more than I can.
I can cast spells with my finger.
I can offend you with a specific finger. Yeah, so Look out for Zozo. See, these people.
Yeah, I saw that.
They
Yeah.
see these people are understanding where I'm coming from. These are important things to take note.
I know. I know. All right. Coffee puts someone to sleep.
I'm chugging it, and it's still.
Yeah,
Watch me not go to sleep again tonight after this coffee, but it didn't wake me up for this. Watch.
Well, you have the. I can offend you with a specific finger. Yes, that's what she said.
Oh my God, it's Benabel too. Oh my God, someone needs to lock the door on me.
Oh man. So I'm trying to think if there's any last things I wanted to say. I mean, if you're watching this video on, later after it was live, and if you have any thoughts on the topic of spirituality, being spiritual, and dealing with some sort of challenge, mental, emotional, physical challenge, and how it affects your spirituality or your relationship with your spiritual self, I'd really love to hear about that. So please leave a comment, your own personal experiences. I'm really, really curious about it, because it's really something that I contemplated after watching and listening to Zabora and looking at that whole conversation. It really sort of made me stop and think about it. And I know this has been a conversation that's gone on in the past, usually dealing with mental illnesses and, can you have a mental illness and still practice magic and things like that? And what are your thoughts about dealing with or going to or having someone as a teacher or a mentor who may be dealing with some sort of physical situation? And would you go to them? Would you still have them as a mentor teacher? Would you go to a healer who is having a serious struggle with their physical self? These are things that I really would like to hear your thoughts on. What are your thoughts about someone casting spells on live stream? I don't know. I wouldn't do it. That's what I can tell you. I can tell you that I would not cast a spell like right now. I wouldn't say, okay, Renee, we're going to cast a spell together. Let's do it. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't do that.
No, not for me. Secret is sacred. So usually if I don't even tell people if I'm doing workings or not, if that makes sense.
Yeah. We could do a whole show about this. Personally, I feel that when I'm casting a spell or when I'm doing magic, it is sacred, as Renee pointed out, but I'm very specific about who I practice with. If you happen to be with me in my circle when you and I are going to cast a spell, then I've selected you. I've read your vibrational frequency and I feel like we're aligned. Because I'm so selective, I wouldn't do it on a live stream where anybody could be tuning in. Anybody could be, part of it. I mean, what if you fuck up my vibrational frequency? I'm not having that shit. You know what I mean? I don't know. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I wouldn't. I'm very selective.
I close my blinds so that way my neighbors don't start peeking in. Because you can see them really, you can see straight to the houses at this point. But in the end, hey, you do you.
Yeah. I mean, if
YouTube just on that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're cool with doing it, then you do it, but I wouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Druidry, I don't know enough on Druidry to do a live stream on Druidry.
I ain't knowing much about it at all.
Renee, I like Renee's door. Oh, is that why you got up and shut the blinds?
No, I just noticed when I looked over to the side that it was like really dark, and I was like, crap. Because there's like someone else's house that's like right here, paralleling mine. So they literally can see everything when it gets dark. So I'm like,
Secrecy. River Havenwood would like to see a video or chat about your thoughts on secrecy. We'll put that on in the future, because I'm sure Renee and I can talk about secrecy. Yeah. Any last thoughts, Renee? We have about 2 minutes.
Not many.
She's too tired to have thoughts. She's just thinking about bed.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking, in the end, it's a personal, when you're talking about that burden of whether if it's disease, illness of any kind, or any type of physical state that is not what is, I guess optimal.
Yeah.
And
optimal.
if you're not in your optimal state, which many of us aren't, I'm not in my optimal state. In the end, that resistance, that blockage or whatever, just because there's something there, doesn't make it anyone else's business, because that's someone else's struggle, that's someone else's stuff. Mm-hmm. So just because you see someone else's stuff doesn't mean you always have to point it out.
Right.
That is an art very easily lost. So
yeah. And I mean, definitely that it's someone else's stuff. And that, I mean, if you are working through whatever that challenge is, and you don't have to share it with anybody, most certainly. But knowing, I guess for me, it comes down to trying to be or being honest with yourself. If you are in the optimal state of health that you can be, and when you're not. I mean, nobody else can really tell you that. I mean, doctors can look at you and say, you have this wrong and this wrong and this wrong, and this needs to be fixed. But really, they don't know. Really, they don't. I mean, they only know as much as they can know. And if you're working through and you're working with things, I mean, it doesn't mean that your spirituality is lacking in any way. There's always room for improvement, no matter where you're at. We're constantly learning. We're constantly growing. We're constantly transforming and changing. That's what life is all about,
Agreed.
So that brings us to 9 o'clock. It is time to say goodbye. Until next week. I want to thank our official sponsor, Karen Gerlinger, for sponsoring Wine Witches Witchcraft. If you're interested in how you can be a sponsor or how to earn other wonderful rewards and content, go check out Lunar Wisdom's Patreon page. I have a video series called The Quest Within. There's another video series, Becoming Witch. And there is a series of blog posts, A Journey of Self-Love. You can earn free monthly readings and discounts on my website. So go on over, take a look. And don't forget to be here next week when we have that wonderful game that we're going to play with some contestants next week. Yay, that's going to be fun. Yay. If you're interested in being a contestant, go over to CricketSong's Facebook page and say, I want to be a contestant. There's a post over there. And thank you all in chat. You guys were great. Have a good night, everyone. Good night, Renee.
Good night.
Bye. Blessed be. Love you all.